differences, but take your time. The woman who marries you needs to be a woman that you will listen to when you won't listen to anybody else. Any man and woman can make a marriage if they want to. That's where why comes in. You get rid of the insignificant stuff. If she wants the toilet paper put on the roller over the top instead of underneath, well, let her have that. Over the top is better for her health-wise, because if it comes under next to the wall, what's on the wall could get inside her and make an infection. If it comes up over the top, it's cleaner. If you squeeze the toothpaste in the middle and she rolls it from the end, maybe you need to roll from the end. Insignificant stuff means nothing. Any man or woman can make a marriage if they want to. Marriage is not made in heaven.
No?
No. You marry a woman here, you're married to her while you're here. Once you breathe your last breath, the marriage is dissolved. It's over with.
Oh, wow.
Because in the next heaven and earth, there's no marriage.
No, we're gonna be spirits.
And, well, no, we're going to be physical beings.
Yeah, physical beings, but no marriage.
And one of my colleagues told me once, in the next heaven and earth, next earth,
Yeah.
children will be born.
Okay.
They'll be perfect children.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take them. I've had enough of the imperfect ones. I was an imperfect child.
Me too.
So, what's actually coming is not what religious people tell you. No one ever rises beyond what they're taught. And there's a whole lot more to living than what they let on. And you never know where you're going to meet the next brother or sister or what they're going to look like. And the reason they could be brothers or sisters, have you ever wondered what color God is?
No. Well,
Would you like to know what color he is?
sure, why not?
Clear.
Clear.
He has no form, no shape, no worldly features whatsoever.
There we go. The invisible.
The most powerful being in the universe has no shape, no color, no design. He doesn't need it.
Okay.
Clear hides nothing, defines everything, leaves nothing to doubt. Clear. And that is my favorite color, clear. Because there's no color. It's all just, it's there, it's nothing, and yet it's everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at it, this little tree right here, I have to see through clear to see the green.
Yep. Wow.
So that's God's color. I didn't write the book. Anybody has an argument, they can go argue with the author. I got better things to do.
¿Usted sabe por qué trae su pipita y eso?
¿Cómo que por qué trae?
¿Usted sabe para qué la usa? Un ejemplo.
¿Para qué la usa?
Sí. ¿Y por qué siempre trae eso?
Es para quemar su tabaco.
Sí, y también dice que para alejar los moscos.
Sí.
Que porque los moscos respiran.
Oh, sí, el mosco no soporta el humo.
Y se muere.
Yeah.
I'm telling you about your pipe. But you told me that you always had it with you because when the mosquitoes come around, they don't support the smoke.
Oh yeah. I'm a landscaper by trade.
Yeah.
That was my trade years ago. My last trade was detailing cars. But I was explaining to this one little girl over here that it was your daughter, your youngest daughter. I was explaining to her that bugs don't breathe through their mouths; they breathe through their butts.
Dice que los moscos no respiran por las nalgas.
Oh,
And
okay.
if they can't breathe, they don't stick around.
Y dice que si no pueden respirar, no van a estar aquí, se van a ir por otro lado.
Sí.
And if there's no bugs to distract me, as a yard man, I got my work done quicker.
Yeah.
That's what the customer wanted.
Oh, okay.
When I was building walls, patios, things like that, no bugs around. It was,
Nice.
the stones lifted into place, they fit better. I got done quicker. I used to build steps out of those things too, stairwells.
Yes, there was.
You find the right shaped blocks, and it takes a while to find them all.
Okay.
But in one afternoon, I built a stairwell, round platform at the bottom, and a wall about that high. There were 6 steps.
6 steps high?
And there was a landing at the top. The woman, the owner of that property, when she saw that, she didn't know whether to pee herself or hug me.
Okay.
She loved it.
She loved it?
Yeah, if you're ever in Owensboro, Kentucky, and you stop at the old Stephen Ford residence, that's where my serpentine wall was. If you look at the wall from up above, there's a rounded bolster that looked like a snake's head.
Okay.
And it just snaked its way along the backyard, dipping and rising in certain places. And at the highest point at the back of the yard, that's where the steps were.
Oh, okay.
It's not what we do in our life that makes the difference. It's why we do it.
Why we do it?
Why we do it. If you paint a man's house and you just slop the paint in there, well, it's painted. Okay, it's painted. But how was it applied? Does your work denote quiet? Does it inspire people to be organized, like straight up and down, straight up and down? I've seen people go in and roll that roller all over the wall and then even it out. The imprint of that confused rolling is still going to affect whoever's in that room. They don't see it, but the human eye will pick it up. But if it's done quickly and orderly, in fashion, that's an easy room to be in. By the way, if you want your children to be smart, to achieve good in school, there is something about the color light yellow.
Light yellow?
Yeah. When I was in school, my bedrooms were either an ungodly turquoise green color.
Mm-hmm.
I did okay. Then we moved to another town. The walls were kind of like a blah pink.
Okay. Wow.
Now, Mom could not afford to paint the walls.
Yeah.
But with that pale pink color, I did okay in school.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the smart class.
Oh, really?
And then a couple years later, she painted my bedroom walls a coin gold, a depressing mustard yellow, brown, light brown, yellow color, ugly color. I went through a fit of depression, lasted for 2-3 years. But then when she allowed me to paint it pale yellow, jonquil yellow,
Yeah.
my grades came up. I started achieving in school. I even led in sports. You want your kids to achieve and do well, paint their study area a pale yellow.
Okay.
Something about yellow stimulates something in the brain
Okay.
that makes it easier to absorb information and learn. I swear by it. For rest, the reason why God made most of the vegetation green,
Mm-hmm.
green is the easiest color for the human eye to look at.
Okay.
Blue, light blue, promotes calm, peace, acquiescence.
Okay.
If you look in the morning and evening skies, you see shades of pink and orange.
Yeah.
That's the sun reflecting off the ozone.
Of the what?
That's the sun reflecting off the ozone.
Oh, of the ozone?
When that pink or orange is no longer seen in the skies, we've got a problem.
Oh, we got a problem?
So long as that color is in the sky, there'll always be enough air.
Okay.
And something about that pink is relaxing. It's invigorating to a person. You can be calmed and invigorated at the same time. Color is very important. Very important. So the light, sound, and color that you surround yourself with either makes for a peaceful atmosphere or a violent one.
Guys, excuse me. You see me find it?
What?
See me find it?
Find what?
He's not.
Look at a knife.
He's not. Hey, Fernando is crazy. He knows a lot of stuff too.
Good. You threw that there?
Yeah.
Well, I guess God didn't want you to get rid of it.
Octavio.
El senador y Mr. Jacob.
Ok. El soñador Estrada y aquí Mr. Jacob, el dueño de la sabiduría. Aquí un hombre muy sabio.
He's telling people that you're a wisdom man, and he was recording you because a lot of people in these times they go into their phones and they see you, you know, and they can learn something out of it. So it's good.
Peekaboo.
Peekaboo. Hey man, I like you, man. You know a lot of stuff.
Well, like I said, the purpose behind the senior generations, we're supposed to interact with those that follow after us in such a manner that when you get to be our age, you're better than we ever could have been. And we're responsible to do this for all children, all men.
Oh, thank you.
You know, it's what the boss wants done. You see, I come across people all the time that say they have a ministry calling in the church. Oh, I'm Apostle so-and-so. Or I'm Prophet so-and-so.
No, that's stupid, man.
I'm getting to the place where I can look and ask, I highly doubt that. In the first place, it clearly states by their fruits, by what they produce. That's how you know them. They don't have to tell you anything. I don't even refer to a church minister as pastor because I have to see what he's going to do, or she, or whoever's presiding. I do know this, and I was surprised to hear it. There are people in this world who carry a ministry, but they will never be ordained. They're not supposed to be. They're supposed to filter out amongst the people to be there as support, as a help, to stand between an individual and the devil's wrath. One person I know of who carried the apostles' ministry.
Okay.
He was the church janitor.
Mm-hmm.
And when the new minister came in, that janitor fed that young minister and made his life better, showed him different things. The apostles' ministry. These are people who have a unique ability to bring new light to a new generation, and that's all it is. Where it mentions there are first apostles, prophets, evangelists, teachers, pastors, for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry.
A ver aquí, chavalo. Chavalo, fílmalo. Hazte para atrás primero tu silla, chavalo. Hazte para atrás.
No, déjeme agarrar eso.
Ok.
Okay. Yeah, I'm listening. Keep on talking.
I keep hearing these people talk about how so-and-so was elevated to apostle. That's impossible. You see, each one of the 5 ministries is equal and absolutely equally necessary, but something had to be mentioned first.
Okay.
And these people who say, well, apostles are more important because they're mentioned first, I pray to God that that person is the youngest child in their family.
Yeah.
Oh, you're the youngest child in your family, so that means you amount to the least. Ooh, they hate that.
Yeah.
They hate that. But the prophet's ministry, yeah, they can maybe foresee the future if necessary, but their primary function in the established order of the fellowship, they're there to eliminate anyone and anything that distracts God's people from hearing the truth.
Okay.
And if it means physically picking up a gossip and throwing them through the front door of the church and telling them don't come back until you change, that's what they do. They're kind of like the enforcers.
Okay.
The evangelistic ministry. Billy Graham is not an evangelist.
No.
He is at best a mediocre teacher. he confines himself to the regulations of a structured denomination. The best examples of evangelism is in the book of Acts. I think Peter and there's one other guy that was with him were locked up in a cell. An earthquake came along. All the cell doors opened. The shackles fell off. They could have all run away. The warden of that prison, was himself a prisoner.
Okay.
He wasn't getting out of there anytime soon. And the only way to get the message to him was to get in the prison where he was.
Oh, okay.
That's how he heard it. The greatest example I've seen, the Christian funny books show a black man in elaborate robes sitting in a chariot with his driver heading out across open ground. That did not happen like that. This man, he had no cojones. His manhood was clipped when he was a baby.
Okay.
But he was still a man. This man was the secretary of the treasury of an empire.
Oh, okay.
And Ethiopia was a lot bigger back then. His queen, who is mentioned by name, very formidable woman. Her word was law. For her to allow this man to leave the kingdom and to go into Israel, he went with his own armed guard. That was his personal caravan.
Who was that? What was his name?
The Ethiopian eunuch, never knew his name. But he was the secretary of the treasury of an empire. Now Philip, his calling was to evangelism.
Oh, okay.
These are people who have a unique ability to get into and out of the most impossible situations.
Mm-hmm.
If for no other reason, just to find the one person who won't hear it any other way and get the message to him. If a man wants to know truth, God will make the way for him to find it.
Thank you, man.
Now, it doesn't say that Philip met this man that afternoon, sat in the chariot that afternoon, and got everything done that afternoon. It took several days for this to happen. First of all, he had the book of Isaiah.
Isaiah?
There were no printing presses. The man had that book transcribed for him. He paid a lot of money for that book. And on his way home, he was reading it. He couldn't make heads or tails of it. So here's Philip, who had joined himself to this caravan, and the guard had to be wondering, who's this fool traveling with us? I told you the recipe for witnessing. Get out of the house, go where there are people, start talking. Well, Philip got way out of his house, like 200 miles away from his house.
Wow.
He went where there were people. We're talking guerrilla men that could skewer him from 100 yards without giving it a second thought.
I got you.
And he started talking. Well, first he had to talk to them, because no one was getting anywhere near that treasurer without serious confrontation. Over the course of time, as he gained their confidence, just talking to them, eventually he made his way up alongside a coach. When God told Philip, go join yourself to the chariot, if you take that expression apart, bit by bit by bit, he told him to go join himself not to the chariot, but to that specific vehicle right there. The most heavily guarded vehicle in the caravan. And Philip might have pooped himself. He said, are you nuts? You see that? That's what we say to God. Are you nuts? God isn't nuts. We are.
How old are you, Mr. Jacob?
Let me think. I'm in my 63rd year. I'll be beginning my 64th year.
64?
This year.
Oh, okay.
So, which means in Occidental terms, I'm 62, but I'm in my 63rd year. The way that works, in this culture, when a baby is born, they have to live a full year before they're considered one.
Oh,
In the Bible, when a child took their first breath,
that's
they were automatically in their first year, therefore they were automatically one.
mm.
And by the way, the Persian Magi, they weren't present the night of Christ's birth. They were still over in Persia. It was the Babylonian seer Belteshazzar. We know Belteshazzar by the name Daniel.
Daniel, yeah.
When Daniel came to full age, the king of Babylon placed him in the position of chief of all the Magi. The Magi were stargazers. They could predict times of war, famine, drought, peace, prosperity, just by the way the planets, which they knew as wandering stars. We know them as planets.
Mm-hmm.
They knew they were the only stars in the heavens that moved.
Wow.
Belteshazzar foretold that when the descendant of the Lion of Judah
The Lion of Judah, yeah.
would be born,
Yep.
something would take place in the heavens.
Okay.
When the king of the wandering stars, which we know as Jupiter, aligned with the messenger, which we know as Mercury, when those two aligned with the king star Regulus in the constellation of Leo, the Messiah would be born. On September 11th, in the year 3 BC, that happened. So Jesus Christ's ministry lasting 3.5 years is a farce. For him to fulfill the law, his ministry could not have lasted even 1 second over a year.
Okay.
So he was here for a lot less time. If you follow the old Gregorian calendar, see, we follow the Julian calendar, which has its inaccuracies. But if you trace all these events back by the old Gregorian calendar, it's more accurate. Not perfect, but more accurate. So the Magi, when they came across the desert, like this eunuch, they didn't travel by themselves, 3 dudes on camels. The bandits would have had them within 20 miles outside of their hometown. The chief of the Magi kept petitioning the Sultan of Persia, a very powerful man, to let them go to Israel
No se lo pague, no se va a guardar.
and pay
Me
their
despido aquí con el sabio de sabios, Jacob. Say bye to the camera, Jacob.
Bye-bye.